Okay, so now it's Hendrik time. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining. Yeah, I want to tell you something about icons and about the hell that you can walk through sometimes when you try to implement them. But first, let's say some sentences to the nice company that I work for and that is sponsoring all those meals for you. So we are Cofinpro, a consultancy, a German consultancy, and we do management consulting, technology consulting, and expert advisory. And the topics that we're dealing with is everything that relates to banks, actually, and in particular, credit, securities, and payment transactions. Yeah, and that's it already. So let's start with the actual talk. So when I thought about doing this talk, I thought, okay, let's do something fun with icons, and I thought about, well, why not create a website? Or basically that could be the aim, to create a fun website where users can interact with, and it should be related to Super Mario. So, and today we're gonna build one key component of this website, and it's the infamous Yoshi button. But we will come to that later. Oh, well, actually right now. So let me take you on this journey of building this button and the skeleton of the website that this button lives in. So what do we want to achieve? So actually we want to create a website skeleton with different Super Mario themes. So like this to the right, and furthermore, we want to be able to have a laser pointer, that's better. We want to be able to theme the whole thing so that a user maybe can choose his own theme and just choose something that he likes. And we want to do this theming by CSS only to keep it simple and maintainable. And we do not want to have any markup changes, just to implement the themes. Furthermore, we want nice Yoshi buttons. And it should not be just a static button. It should be a button where Yoshi sticks its tongue out when you click on it. So an animated button, actually. And maybe you will ask yourself, why is Yoshi blue? So it's because it's actually a Cofinpro Yoshi. So these are corporate colors, but we will also find green Yoshis in this talk. But let's start simple with a little hello world using our old friend Mario. So let's dive in. I've prepared some rough page for you. Yeah, there he is. That's Mario. So we want to have a hello world. So let's introduce icons in general. So what can we do when we want to include icons? Maybe some of you have heard about Font Awesome. So that's one place to look for icons. So maybe we should start there. And what icon do we have? Well, we want to have maybe this hand of Mario. So let's head over to Font Awesome and look for a hand icon. And very well, we will find an icon right here, which is pretty much what we want. So we want this peace hand, and so let's include it. I've already prepared some little diff for you, so that we have a little hello world right away. Okay, so here you can see, okay, we have this Font Awesome classes that you need, and here we go with the hand piece. So that's basically it. And here we go. So now we have included an icon using the using a font, using an icon font. And if we inspect the whole thing, we can see how it works. So let's do this. You can see, okay, the font awesome fonts are implemented using a pseudo class, like the before notation. And actually, what's done here is that, this serves a Unicode character. And this character is combined with a font family. So actually, it is a character of this font awesome font. Okay, so what does that mean? So we have we do not have an image or something. We have a font. We have a glyph. So well, let's try something different. So let's try to color it a little bit. So let's see how far we can get. So we want actually that it looks like Mario. So what we have now done is what I have now done is I've just colored the background a little red so that it resembles the Mario on the right. And I just want to show you how the icon is set in the inline context. So we can see, okay, it's not located on this baseline of the font, which is down here. So it sits a little different. Which, if we style it this way, looks a little strange because we have this white space below. So it's very So that's one thing that's strange in the first place. So but why is it positioned this way? So as I told you, we are using icon fonts in this example. And icon fonts underlie certain font metrics. And what does that mean? So we do have the baseline. So that's that. We talk about the Mario stuff first. So we talk about this Hey Mario text. Then we have a descender that the Y is looking, it comes together right there. Furthermore, we have an ascender. We have more white space, and that's basically what's called the content area of font. So, and if we are, but we do not have those vertical dimension, we also have a horizontal dimension. So every character has some kind of a horizontal extent, and in case of the Hey Mario, that's you can see it how it works. When it comes to this icon on the right, since this is sourced from a font and we have a different font, so all the font metrics also apply to this icon. So the font comes with another baseline or with another descender and another ascender. And so we get the font metrics complexity delivered right away with the icon font. And how does this all come together? So icon and text, they meet at the baseline. Basically, every different font that you're using meets at the baseline. So this is the most important property of a font when it comes to initial positioning. What's also interesting is that if you have another font like this one, so you also have some kind of a tricky horizontal extent. So the horizontal dimension gets also a little strange actually, because this glyph, this one character extends its actual boundary. So if you now imagine that you have an icon which is poorly implemented in an icon font, you can see that you can really so that it can be positioned really hard. So that's why it's so hard to position icons using an icon font. So the font metrics are very complex, and so you have heard of a font size, of course. But the actual font size is not the glyph size, that it's the extent of this icon. Furthermore, the font size is also not the content area size. So actually, the font size, it's depending on the font's internal font metrics, and it's calculated. The extent of this icon is then calculated upon it. So if you it's very hard to position an icon like that. So that's very hard. Furthermore, you might have heard of line height, but line height is also not the glyph size and also not the content area size. So the line height is also same as with the font size. It is not the content area size. It's a different size. But to explain these metrics in detail, so this goes beyond the talk, this little talk and the little time we have. So what I want to tell you is that positioning icons using the baseline can be problematic. The icon font's baseline can be incompatible to the text font's baseline, and also the icon itself might affect the line height, and I can show you that using using a different box. So let's just put it in. Let's choose a different base font, like that. So you can see, okay, now the font when I'm using a cursive Mario font, the icon sits in the middle, which looks kind of better. And when I now remove this icon from the whole box, there, well, let's do it right here. You can see there's a switch in the height of the whole box. So if we now want to have a button, for example, so that might look a little odd because it might have implications on the height of the button, which we do not want. Okay, and furthermore, we can see that Mario actually has a glove. So the icon should be white, actually. So the background of the icon should be white. So if you now want to do this, what can you do? You could tell, with a CSS statement, could tell background white. This is not exactly what we want, because we want to have the white actually only to stay in its border. But exactly that is impossible with icon fonts. So if you want to have multicolor icons like this one, you're at a dead end. It's not working. So if you want to have that, you have to go a different way. And today I want to show you how to use SVGs to serve that purpose. So what I did is I downloaded the hand icon from Font Awesome. So they also give away the SVGs that are behind all those icons in the font. And let's just include it like that. We're using an image tag for that. And we're setting a height because SVGs are scalable vector graphics, so they have a height, but you can scale them any way you like. And then let's see how it looks. So at this point, we already have the perfect icon. So that's very nice. What we can see is that the icon sits a little different. So it's because the SVGs do not have a separate baseline, so they sit on top of the baseline. So you can see if we can also enable this for example, I've prepared a little CSS class for that, so that you can see where the baseline actually is. So you can see, okay, there's a little. So the SVG sits a little different compared to the icon font. Okay, so that's for the multicolor that I will later refer to. And I also told you about the positioning issues that you have when you try to implement icons. Why is that an issue in the first place? So human brains try to recognize patterns. So actually, those positioning issues have usability implications, because if the human brain cannot recognize those patterns, it gets uncomfortable. That's very subconscious, but the effect is totally there. So those patterns, for example, are close elements are related. So that's one of them. Another one is, so we can see it before. Okay, so because these circles are so close together, you might convey a little meaning out of this positioning. So you might think, okay, so there must be a reason why they are so close. So they must be related in some way. Another pattern is aligned elements are related. So if you take a look at this picture or at the screen to the right, you can see, okay, they are somehow vertically aligned, and you might think, okay, so there has to be something behind it. They are not lined up beautifully like that without any reason. So there must be a meaning behind it. Also, the equality in the size of these icons is often also a pattern that's so that you think, okay, why do these icons, for example, have all the same size? So there must be something to it. So that's how our human brain works. And if we do not build a website according to our brain works, then we cause something that's called visual noise. And visual noise is something that you can see on the right. So if you take just a quick look, you can see, oh, this icon is totally off. So it's not too bad actually, but you can immediately see it. Also, you can see that this icon is somehow a little too small in the horizontally. So, and this is, it causes visual noise. You get the feeling that something's not right, and you get the feeling that this side just doesn't feel good. So what you do not want, because it's this visual noise and the disorder that you have, it leaves some space for various negative implications. So the user of your website might think you do not care about details, and average is just good enough for you. And yeah, in the end, maybe this mess looks unprofessional and untrustworthy. So which in turn might cause that the user doesn't want to enter his or her data, or doesn't want to invest money, or just doesn't want to stay long enough to click on your ad. So that's not very good. Better is something like that. And you can see, okay, we have some alignments in the horizontal and the vertical dimensions. Everything is somehow according to the size. It has the same height, for example. The alignment, so the text is straight into the middle of the boxes. So that it just feels good. It looks good. So the human brain works. It's happy. So everything's fine here. And that's also one of the reasons why many forms that you will find on the websites are they are built like that. And because of that, for example, the Bootstrap grid is also very famous, because it provided a consistent way to get those alignments straight and to satisfy the brain, so to say. Okay, so let's head over to what's really exciting, to the Yoshi button. So we've talked about the usability implications, and we've talked about how we can include icons, how we can multicolor them. And well, now let's dig into the button you've all waited for, the Yoshi button, the animated Yoshi button. So it should look like this. Well, and not exactly, because the tongue should, it should be initially in Yoshi's mouth. So what do we want? Let's quickly line this up. We want to have a multicolor icon. then we want the whole thing to be vertically centered in this button, so that the brain is okay with that. It all looks good. So yeah, that's what we want. Furthermore, I've said that we wanted to have a theming support. So we want to be able to easily change the color of the button, of the text, and of course of this Yoshi icon. We want to also have a nice tongue animation. So it should not just be there, it just gradually come out of Yoshi's mouth. Furthermore, we have another challenge. So it's not that we want to have the tongue inside the button, but we want to have a piercing tongue. So actually, Yoshi should pierce the border of this button. But we've talked about functional requirements now. So let's come to the non-functional requirements. There are some as well. So we want to have a good loading speed. So we do not want to have big image files, for example, or various JavaScript huge libraries, something like that. So we want the user to be able to start very fast. We want the solution to be maintainable. So it's not that it just shouldn't just be copy and paste code. We want to easily extend it because we once we started with Yoshi, maybe we want to add Mario, maybe we wanted to add other characters of the Mario universe, and yeah, there might be more non-functional requirements, but let's focus on those for now. They are actually quite many. So let's start. Let's focus on Yoshi. I've shown you before that we can achieve multicolor icons using SVGs. So what makes this actually a good idea? So SVGs are scalable vector graphics, which means they are they are painted, so to say, and they using vectors, and they scale very well. So you can resize them any size you want. It will always look good and not blurry, like, for example, PNG files or JPEG files or something like that. Furthermore, SVGs are not just aren't binaries. They are actually XML markup, and this leaves us with a good compression rate, which is beneficial if we want to have a good loading speed. And we can also edit the XML markup. So you can even use it in any text editor that you have at hand. Another nice feature of the SVG icons are that they are to some extent CSS compatible. So, which means you can style them using CSS, which is cool because you do not have to learn a new technology just to style SVGs. Another nice asset is that you can define animations in the SVG itself, and which is cool because you can just pull in the icon, so to say, start the animation, and you do not have to put the icon, the animation on top. So that's very nice if you just want to use the icon and do not want to care about much else. And last but not least, we can also use SVGs in combination with Svg Sprites. So Svg Sprites are a little like an icon, a font. An icon in an icon font is like an SVG in an Svg Sprite, which means that an Svg Sprite is just a bunch of different SVGs. So you can have one Svg Sprite, and you can just put different SVGs in it, and create a collection of icons. Yeah, but it's not all good. There's also a little downside of the Svg icons, but we will come to that later. So let's see. Let's dig into the actual HTML. Again, I've prepared a little website for you. So that's our blank space, and we now want to have a Yoshi icon. Okay, but before we can pull in a Yoshi icon, we first have to find one. I did that using the Google image search. I found this Yoshi icon, and you can see it's so it's a green Yoshi. So let's pull this in. Again, as we've did it before, I will now use an image tag, and I will just use the Yoshi icon. Close it, and we are good to go. Okay, that's a little huge. So let's maybe style it a little bit, and let's set the height to like let's set to 200 pixels. Should be enough. So that's a beautiful Yoshi. So it's not does not have any animations, no theming, but we have a nice Yoshi, and that's good to work with. So let's well, actually, we have one achievement already. We have a multicolor icon. Yay! So let's deal with some other achievements. So let's add the theming support. I've prepared Inkscape for you. So it's just a well-known SVG editor. So just open the file in there. And then let's take a look at this shape. And if you take a look at the right of Inkscape, you will see something that looks familiar. So it's a style attribute. So what we can see here is there's some RGB code in here. So and as I said before, SVGs are compatible with CSS. So what I'm doing for theming the whole thing is I'm using CSS Custom Properties. So and you pull those custom properties in using this var function. Now I will just pull in the Yoshi color custom property. So this is, I hope you can read it. It tells Yoshi color. And then I should be able to set the CSS custom property. And if this custom property is set, this shape would take the respective color. RGB would be the fallback. So that's, in theory. Let's see how it works in practice. So I've already prepared this for you. With I have a Yoshi Icon filled version of this, and if we make this a little bit bigger, you can see, okay, I have all those color files in here, and applied this to all shapes that were green. Okay, so let's pull this in using this. So you can see, okay, I've not specified the CSS custom property, so it cannot be, should be still green. But if I now find this custom property, at least you would expect that there would happen something. But actually there isn't, as you can see. So Yoshi should actually become yellow, but it isn't. So that's because I was using the image tag. And an image tag is, you do not have, it encapsulates your graphics, and the CSS custom properties, they just don't reach your actual SVG. So we need a different option to do this. And what we can do is we can create an actual Svg Inline Element and pull in the actual data of the of Yoshi, and just put it under a new root SVG tag, so to say. So with this use tag. So what have I done here? So the use tag, it refers to this URL and an ID, which is Yoshi. And if we now take a look at the filled icon, the filled SVG, I can see, okay, I've set the ID Yoshi. So what happens now is that there will be a new inline SVG with the content of the Yoshi Svg file. So let's see how this looks. Okay, so those Yoshis are a little in the way. So let's just remove the old thing. Okay. And let's try again. If I now set the CSS Custom Property and set it on the right element and not on this path, we should actually see something. So maybe I've cut, okay. And if I now choose the naming right and do color Yoshi, then we can see, yeah, it actually works. So what we just have to do, we can just define this CSS custom property in with our theming. So we can easily define those variables and ship multiple themes with it. So this way we can easily implement theming support using Svg Icons, which means we have another achievement. So the theming support is now ready to be used. But now let's we actually want to have a button. So let's put Yoshi in a button. Also, just to save some time, I've already prepared that as well. And yeah, let's remove this for now. So, and it's you can see, okay, it looks yeah, it looks equal. So I'll just define a button, add a little span to it with the click me, and then I will add the icon to it. And what I've already prepared is a little flex styling. So I said, okay, that should be displayed as an inline flex, and I want the items to align center. So because yeah, with the default flex direction is row, the align items will center vertically. So that's actually what we want. Let's see how it looks. We can see that that the button is ready. So you can see that that we can click it. Okay, it has not yet any background color. We can add this right now, and also this this icon, it's not very well placed. But that's something that I will show you later, why it was not placed right in the first place. And well, let's just add a little button color in here, because also for this button, I've already prepared some CSS custom properties. So to style the button, we can also, well, let's pull also the Yoshi color in here. So this is actually our theming. So we'll define the custom properties with the respective color values, and we will link them together to the respective elements on your page. So if we use reload, then we can see, okay, so that very much looks like what we want already. So the Yoshi is vertically aligned, the text is vertically aligned. So that's what we want. So I think we can pull in another achievement in here. So everything is set up for the actual tongue animation. So let's talk about Yoshi's tongue. What do we want? We want that the tongue is initially hidden. And yeah, what we actually have, if we look close, then the tongue itself, it's made up of a rectangle and a circle. So which pretty much looks like this. So we have two. It's made up of two components, and in order to let Yoshi stick out its tongue, we have to just do two simultaneous animations. So we have to just scale this respective rectangle from left to right, and have the circle move with it. And then from a layering perspective, we just have to keep those shapes behind Yoshi's head if in the initial state. So which is very simple actually in theory. In order to implement this, you have different options using SVGs. So there is something that's called SMIL, which is the Synchronized Multimedia Integration Language. And what this is that it's actually animation markup inside SVGs. What's good to know is that this format was first deprecated by Google, and then it was kind of de-deprecated. So it's not completely certain where this language goes. And so actually it was deprecated in favor of CSS animations, because you can also do animations with CSS. And we will also focus on this one in right now, building our Yoshi button. So let's see what we can do, or what we have to do actually. So if we want to animate or actually pull all those shapes in, we have to alter the Svg file, which we can do very easily using your favorite IDE or another text editor. So what have I done here? I've created a rectangle with certain coordinates and initial width and height. And I've also included the circle, also with the initial coordinates and the respective radius. So that's what's also important right now. That is, I also included this this fill attribute in this rectangle and in the circle, so that the tongue of Yoshi is also separately colorable. That's something that you might notice before. I have another variable already prepared for that, so we can already activate it so that you can immediately see the effect. Okay, so that's for the basic part. But you can also see that we have some more magic in here. So let's drill down a little bit. So, well, maybe we'll start with the transition. So the transition specifies that that the whole transform that we will that I've specified here will take 1.5 seconds. So we want this animation to last 1.5 seconds. So which is a kind of a nice speed, nice animation time. And what we are doing here, actually with the transformation itself, is a scaling, and I've combined it with a CSS Custom Property to trigger the activation of the animation. So which is what this means is that if this CSS Custom Property is set, then we have the value. So the value of this custom property will be multiplied with 4.5 and applied to the scaling function. So this is one way how we can activate a CSS custom animation. I've done the same below with the circle. So we have this CSS property again, and just a different different transformation, because as I said before, we need a translation for this. So let's see how it looks. But first, we have to pull this in, of course. So so this is the anim CSS SVG. Let's include it. But maybe let's include it as a separate file first. So we take the anim CSS SVG, and we will see how this looks. So we will inspect it for now. I forgot the SVG around it, sorry. But I will just reuse the graphics in here. Okay, here we go. Now we will just, as we want to see Yoshi stick its tongue out, we want to and here we go. So Yoshi stuck its tongue out. So that was, yeah, that's exactly the effect that we want to have. So now if we disable it, it will pull it back in and put back out. The coloring comes from the CSS Custom Property. So then we now have an animation that we can trigger very easily using just the CSS Custom Property. And yeah, it all comes together right now. So let's put it on the button. So okay, you can see, okay, it sits, yeah, it's all right. It works, and but we now only have to bind an event, our event that we want to have this CSS custom property set in the first place. So what we now just have to do, we can, or how I would do it is we will just register an on-click event handler and just add a class, animation active. And this animation active class just defines this custom property. So if we now click on the icon, we can see, okay, Yoshi stucks its tongue out, but it does not yet pierce the border. But well, I still want the achievement for the tongue animation. So let's just take a quick look at how we get this tongue piercing. We can do this like that. So because this is a very special case, actually, yeah, we can use it. We can implement this using a translation function. So what we actually want to do is we want to shift let me inspect this for you. So we have two parts. So we have this surrounding SVG element, which so to say defines the border of the whole icon, and then we have the actual element that sits inside. And now we will just shift it a little to the right. Using this translate function. So let's see. I have to a little lost why it doesn't work now. So actually, what I wanted to do is I want to, or the strategy that I'm trying to use is that we will leave the outer SVG in place, set the overflow to be visible, and shift the inner SVG content to the right so that it overflows like this. And then the animation should come out beautifully. But what I'm seeing now is that that the icon seems to be okay. Now I can see what's the problem. So that's the icon. in the final solution, I've used an Svg Sprite, and in this one I forgot to shift the actual icon position to the left. So let's with a little there's not much time left, so we should quickly pull in the sprite as in the final solution. So we have this, I will quickly show it to you.
Hendrik?
Yes.
You can, of course, have a bit more time, so no pressure. Just take your time, and it's all fine.
Okay. Yeah, but I do not want to make this too long, actually. So what we can see here, I will just inspect it again, and what you can see now is that the graphic, so Yoshi is located on the left, and using this shift that I've told you before, we can achieve this piercing effect. And because we have this this overflow set on the icon class, it's also visible. So if we would remove this, the tongue would not stick out. So that's the whole magic in how we can achieve the piercing tongue. If we take a look at what the file looks like with an Svg Sprite, so that's actually an Svg Sprite in here. So it's just a regular Svg element, but now I have those symbol sub-elements, so to say, which are and it's the same content as before in the other Svg file. So and just like that, you could add other Yoshis in here, or could pull in another Mario or whatever. That's how you can group those SVGs in an Svg Sprite, and then you can just use this and pull in another one. So the good thing about Svg Sprites is if you are using external sprites, that the user so the web server can send the respective caching headers, so the user does not have to reload the file all the time because the browser already caches it. So you also have a very good speed using Svg Icons. Okay. So now we have the solution in place. So let's take a look at our achievements board. We got the piercing tongue, and we've fulfilled all our functional requirements. I've already referred to the loading speed, because we are using Svg files, which are very well compressible in the first place. But combining it with browser caching, you can achieve a very small footprint on this one. Furthermore, it's easy to maintain because you just have to use the icon like that. So you do not have to do anything more, just to add an animation, for example, or to color it. You can separate your theming from your actual markup. So it's very maintainable, very easy to use actually. So we also get a tick on this one. And as I've shown you before, the extendability is also very nice because you can just add more icons to your Svg Sprite and pull it in using the ID. So now we have done the hardest part of the whole talk. So we have our cool Yoshi SVG button that we can now use in our fictional website. So let's take a look at it's just a little fun scenario, and let's just take a look at how we could we can use it in this little website. So now we have a little dungeon background in here. So also this dungeon background is also defined via custom properties and applied to the background. And the very cool effect that we will now see is that when I'm clicking here, Yoshi sticks its tongue out, and the background changes and the whole theming changes. So I've just created 5 different themes, and now Yoshi does what we want. So that's the whole magic. And that's yeah, it's just a fun animation, so that you can see how different those themes could look like, and you could build a fun blog application out of it. So you can really do nice things now that have those basic pieces in place. Okay, let's do a little recap on what we've seen and what at least I consider as a best practice when dealing with icons, and especially the typesetting part. It's always a good idea to center icons horizontally and vertically in its bounding box. So what does it mean? So you should not, if you have the bounding box of the icon, you should not let the icon stick to the right, because you can position it very hard. So you should always do center it horizontally and vertically. Of course, the Yoshi icon is a very exceptional case, because I've on purpose switched Yoshi not to the middle of the actual SVG, but to the left, so that we can translate it again to pierce the actual border. So that's one very exceptional case. And normally you do not have those complex requirements. Also, as you can see on the right, try to position icons relative to a box and not to a text. Especially do not put the icon directly inside the different container as the font resides in. So as the text resides in, because every change that you make to the font has a direct change on the icon if you do it like that. And if you want to switch the font because you have different themes, because you have different customers, maybe with different requirements regarding the font, so it's very hard to maintain and to fix those gaps that you're creating. Also, don't try to, in your icon set, don't mix different icon size aspect ratios. So only use icons with a fixed size, such as 24 × 24, and also what you sometimes see is that those icons have a padding in their bounding box. But if you want to place it like that, the padding would come in the way, because it would push the icon a little to the center, which you do not want, and you would have to if you cannot change the icon, you would have to work around it using CSS, and just to position it differently, change the line height, change the size of the icon itself, and so on. So you shouldn't do that. And if you come across such a scenario, don't try to fix the misaligned icon by CSS. Try to fix the icon. So if you want to update your icons from time to time, the updates become much easier and also much cheaper, because you do not have to remove all the custom CSS stuff that you've added just to work around the actual root cause. I've also created a little checklist for you. I've talked about icon fonts in the beginning. So there might be scenarios when you want to use icon fonts, especially because they have the markup is a little smaller, so you do not have to create inline SVG files and stuff. I think you can use them if you have somebody providing the icon font and knows what he or she is doing, so that the typesetting of the provided set is accurate. So you do not have icons in the set that are like hanging on top of the bounding box, or on the bottom to the left, to the right, and so on. Also, if you need animations, you're lost with icon fonts. Same holds to multicolors. And you should only use icon fonts if you really want to make use of the baseline. So you want to align those icons according to your respective font. And this font alignment has to be more important than an actual pixel perfection. Also, you should take care about anti-aliasing effects, because browsers sometimes try to smooth out fonts so that they look better. But if you have an icon font, the browser will also try to smooth those characters, so those icons, which might cause unwanted effects and unwanted blurs. And so the checklist for SVG icons is, if you need to alter your icons or you have to create them yourself, so better use SVG icons, because that's easy to do. Same holds for animations or multicolor icons, because it's very, very cool how it works together with CSS. And also, if you prefer the block or flex positioning style over the font alignment style that you have to use when using icon fonts, then you should also stick with SVGs. Yeah, well, and in the end, I also want to say something about SVG animations. Which is cool about those animations is that they can be defined in the SVG itself. But there are sometimes some browser incompatibilities when it comes to those animations, and especially when combining these SMIL and the use tag. So what happens is that not all browsers are isolating their animations correctly, which means if you have multiple Yoshis originating from the same SVG, as in this example, so you have two Yoshis, and you combine the use tag and SMIL, a Chrome, for example, would not only trigger this tongue, but also trigger that tongue. So every Yoshi would stick its tongue out, which might be what you want, but I don't think so. So be careful when using this together. Also, it's when we are dealing with the use tag, you will also see that there's it's a shadow root in here. So which means the use tag, the implementation or how it's working is that it copies the content of the root SVG, which comes from this URL, and puts it inside a shadow DOM below the use element, which makes, and the important part is this closed thing here, so you cannot access it. So CSS Custom Properties are one of the few things that can pierce a shadow DOM. So that's why you stick with CSS Custom Properties when trying to interact with those SVGs when you are using the use tag. So this is especially annoying if you try to trigger your animation using JavaScript. So you cannot get a reference to an element in the shadow DOM. So triggering the animation using JavaScript can be tricky, and you might dispatch some custom click events to some areas on the SVG. So that's a little tricky. So I found it easier to work with the CSS. Furthermore, animations and Svg sprites originating from an external URL, as we are using it right here. So if you do not include the root SVG directly in your DOM, it also has it triggers browser incompatibilities. So what you have to do first is using Ajax, pulling the external Svg file in the DOM, and then you can use the same mechanics as I've shown you before. So this is, so that's why I found it easier to stick with CSS animations and not with the SMIL. Furthermore, there are also some alternative JavaScript-based approaches. So you do not have to use those use elements to pull your SVGs in. You can also use a JavaScript library like Snap SVG or Raphael. And those libraries do not have the problem with the shadow DOM because they are fetching the SVG content themselves and give you a handle on manipulating the SVG DOM. So you can define your animations using JavaScript. Yeah, but if you do not have some requirements like we did today, or like we have had today, like sticking or animating a certain part of a certain SVG, so you might be well equipped with just basic CSS-based animation of the icon itself, so that you do not ship the animation with the icon, but just add the animation on top. So maybe you just want to spin a coin or something like that when you trigger, when you click on a button. So you can also do that with CSS-based animations, and you can just animate the icon itself, and you not have to put the animation inside the icon. Very well. Okay, so that's it for now. So we've built our beautiful website, we've built our beautiful Yoshi button, and now I think we are all ready for the Q&A section. So thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thanks, Hendrik. Awesome talk. You really, you put a lot of stuff in it. Yeah, one question directly from me I need to ask now is how long did you like work on this? Those topics, not for the talk, but in general, like working with this and trying it out. Was it like one day or over many weeks? And you seem to be really passionate about as well SVG as also like Mario and Yoshi. So I like this combination and the deep dive you did. So how long did it take you to tackle all this stuff?
Well, I got the first version of the Yoshi button working on one evening. So so this was it was pretty much straightforward. So that was okay. But the really tricky part was the animation because of this shadow DOM problem. So I did it using SMIL in the first place. And then I just hit a dead end because I couldn't reliably trigger a certain animation of this. I could do all or nothing. So I could trigger all Yoshis or no Yoshi at all. And so I switched to CSS Custom Properties, which took me maybe another evening. So it was like 2 evenings that I spent creating this. And then, yeah, so that was the basic technical setup. So, oh, well, let's just keep it here. I like Yoshi. Background
cool. Jose, do you have any questions or comments left?
I have some questions from the chat in the YouTube. Can you do an MP4 with a transparent background? And also something related that there is a reason or situation to prefer SVG animation over GIFs or movies?
So, can you put this question again? I did not really get the question. I'm sorry.
I think that the people is asking in the chat that when and where, in what moment you can use SVG animations instead they put just a GIF or something like that.
Yeah, it's so a GIF is actually so it's I think it's a question of beauty, so or a matter of beauty because GIFs are not vector graphics. So you have some they are some kind of limited. So you could of course use a GIF in here, and I actually don't know if you can you trigger the GIF animation using JavaScript? I haven't thought about that.
Not really.
So So if you want to do something like this, maybe you could do a DOM manipulation, could pull in a GIF in, and so that you have this tongue, and after it's done, you could replace it with a static image. So you could hack this solution with GIFs as well. But yeah, I wanted to keep it maintainable and extendable, and yeah, I did not want to bloat the markup, and I wanted to avoid JavaScript as much as possible, so you can just do it all with CSS. And yeah, so I think GIFs would cause a big overhead.
Okay. So I would say, really, thanks again. It was really awesome talk.
Yeah.
Lots of detail and entertaining as well, and lots of cool modern front-end stuff involved. So different concepts and advantages and disadvantages shown. So it was really cool, I think, also for the community. So for those of you who are taking part in this live stream, now it's the time to go over to this Wonder Meet. There we can talk more in detail about your question and answers, and also do some socializing, and you will find you'll find the link in the chat. And for those who watch the YouTube stream after our live stream, yeah, feel free to check out our resources where we'll post a video and announce next events. Don't forget to subscribe for our newsletter. And yeah, I hope to see you soon in one of the next meetups in the next weeks. Enjoy your evening, enjoy your day, and yeah, see you soon, hopefully all.
Yeah, thank you for the talk. Really awesome.